All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, July 2nd, and we have a technically 19-game MLB slate to dive into in today's video, which is a lot. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of yesterday, not bad. Nothing to write home about, though. We go 5-3. The Yankees money line, we'll talk about them in a second. That does not come through for us. That White Sox Dodgers, I sounded the psycho alert alarm. That was probably just a stupid play wanting some action in on the late games, ultimately. And then the Rays money line, our biggest play of the day. That one does not come through. But I mentioned the Yankees, right? The Yankees have let us down. They're now on the DMB graveyard. We wiped the slate clean with all of the other guys that were on there, or teams that were on there. Now the Yankees, just a prominent headstone, boom. We're not touching the Yankees for a little while there, and I do think that's fair. We've lost 2 or 3 of them recently in spots in which I do think they should have come through. Now, I will admit, maybe backing the Yankees against the Jays on Canada Day, didn't think that one through, but ultimately, you know, a loss is a loss. We got to call a spade a spade. What I will say, the ride of the day. Pump in some crowd noise there. Our ride of the day from yesterday cashes. The graphic, we don't have the actual screenshot of it, but Trey comes through again here, 3 in a row, now 3.32 units of profit. Trey, even if he loses today, is the leader in the clubhouse in terms of profit, which is pretty damn exciting. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, just use that hashtag ride of the day. Drop your favorite plays in the comments. It does 2 things. Gives you the opportunity to be shouted out in the next video, win or loss, but also helps a lot of other people out that are looking for plays. Trey is on a streak here, so we're going to continue to ride with him. So Trey, looking forward to seeing what you throw at us today, because you've been throwing out bangers that started with the +165 Marlins cash. Just make sure to get in a little bit earlier than you have been, because there are a lot of early games, and the earlier the better, because it helps me post it, helps the community ride, all that type of stuff. But yeah, get those hashtag ride of the days down in the comments. Now let's go ahead and jump into today's slate, a long one. We have multiple doubleheaders. We have the Red Sox finishing the game that they suspended yesterday. Then they go into their normal game. So if things are a little wonky, I do apologize. We're going to do our best out here with pitchers and moving pieces and all that. But let's go ahead and dive into game number 1. We have Tampa Bay taking on the A's. Pepe on the mound going up against, I believe it's Mitch Spence. This is a weird one to me because I don't mind the over, but I think we're going to have some weather there in Tampa Bay. So over weather pending is what I'd look at first. And then, yeah, sure, the Rays, but at that price, I don't think so. I don't think that they get swept here. So, yeah, I do think Pepe we can trust a little bit. My one concern, and that's why I like the overs, he throws a lot of fastballs. This Athletics team hits the fastballs well. So over, as long as we have playable weather, because in that field, I still think that we could see some runs being scored, as long as the weather isn't absolutely terrible. Next up, we have Pittsburgh taking on St. Louis. I do think this has a chance of being a final play. Sonny Gray on the mound going up against Mitch Keller. I'm going to back Sonny Gray here. I like the Cardinals in a bounce-back spot. It was good to see. Well, I guess good to see in a sense for this play. Pittsburgh's offense come back down to earth. They won 1-0 yesterday, but it was a Paul Skeens start, so obviously they're not going to give him run support, right? But in this spot, it's really a backing of Sonny Gray more than it is really, being infatuated by this St. Louis offense or anything like that. He's got 125 plate appearances against this current Pittsburgh lineup. K rate of 30%, just compared to a 4% walk rate, an expected batting average against of 221, and expected WOBA 275. Numbers that I like to see. So give me Sonny Gray and the Cardinals on the money line here. But I don't mind the idea of an under, maybe a first 5 or first 3 under, because I think Mitch Keller, he's been looking okay. And again, I don't really think that the St. Louis, they scored 0 runs last time out. They scored 0 runs in 2 straight games, right, in this series. So it's not like I'm sitting here really wanting to back their offense. It's more so a Sonny Gray backing. But I do think they can hit Keller today. All right, Washington taking on Detroit. This is game number 1 of a doubleheader here on the mound in game number 1. Looks like Reese Olson's going to be the primary starter. Holton or whatever it might be, I think, opening for him, but going up against Trevor Williams, that's going to be the easiest decision for me. I'm going to look at the Tigers here in the first game. It is a doubleheader, so it gets a little weird, but I do think that our opinions might just flip for the next game. Mackenzie Gore's pitching for the Nationals, game number 2. We'll let you know what we're thinking about that one, because obviously the Tigers do hit lefties pretty well. But for game number 1 here, I'm going to lean towards the Tigers. I don't love doubleheaders. Tell you guys that all the time. It's so weird because the first game will obviously impact the second game, right? But also, like, the looming, impending second game can impact decisions made in the first game, so it just gets wonky to me. So slight lean to the Tigers. I don't expect anything crazy here. Don't mind them in this spot, though. And then in terms of a total, I guess I'd lean towards the over. I don't think Trevor Williams is going to be all that good, so maybe a Tigers team total over, if anything. Real quick, guys, and I mean real quick, before we get into the rest of the games, because we do have a lot of them to get to, I want to talk to you about sleeper picks. I tell you guys this all the time. This is one of, if not my favorite, DFS player prop app out there, and they're constantly hooking up. And in fact, I haven't even checked. I bet they do have a bunch of other discounts live other than this one, because that is what they do. So yeah, they have a Joey Chestnut hot dog eating contest discount up right there. You can see it right here. They have a 50% tennis boost, a 5% protected play, a 35% profit boost. You get into a Riccone esports player discount, right? They're all right here. I can keep trying to swipe this so maybe you could see it. There's a discount. There's a discount. There's a discount. There's a discount. These are absolutely incredible. And as new users, you're going to get a Clayton Kershaw additional discount, 0.5 outs, right? Free square. They're also going to match your first deposit up to $100. Guys, the discounts and the promos are why these DFS apps are awesome, because you can take advantage of those, the things that, normal books may not do. So check it out. Link down in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Now let's jump back into the rest of these games. But again, go check out Sleeper. Trust me, if it's available in your state and you haven't hopped on it yet, you will regret it. That sounded kind of like a threat. I'm not threatening you. I'm just probably telling you as it is. All right, Philadelphia taking on San Diego. This is another doubleheader. So in this one, first game, I believe we have, let me double check. I believe it's Mick Abel versus Pivetta. I like the Phillies in this spot. Pivetta, not exactly a guy that I'm all that, afraid of here. He is really good against lefties, and the scary bats in that, Phillies lineup, they do have a bunch of those lefties, but ultimately he's going to hum the fastball. He'll throw the slider, and he hasn't been all that fantastic. Whereas Mick Abel, I do think, has been pretty damn good, and I don't really know what to make of the San Diego offense, right? For solely the purpose of picking an offense, I'm riding with Philadelphia. Now, it is a doubleheader, but for game number 1 here, you can get plus 105. I think that might be a spot in which we dive into. Even though I'm always saying I don't like doubleheaders that much and blah, 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 I think this could be a spot in which we get involved. In terms of a total, maybe a Phillies team total over could be the spot. Again, I like Nick Pivetta a lot, but with the fact that we have some, run-scoring weather, hopefully today, wind blowing out, Pivetta, not exactly a guy that keeps the ball on the ground all that much either. It's probably going to be the direction we lean in. Now, I do think, we might have a chance of I think it's only like 20% chance of precipitation. So keep an eye on the weather. But to me, this is a spot for some runs from Philadelphia. I like their team total over, but honestly, at plus 105, I might just be looking at them on the money line. All right, Mets, Milwaukee. Now, this is one that we were on yesterday, and it ended up, postponing, so that one got voided. This is the Clay Holmes and Freddie Peralta matchup. I still like the Mets here, but with the, impending doom of a potential doubleheader here, I don't think I like it as much. But for all the reasons that I said yesterday, I still do think that this is probably a Mets spot in game number 1. Freddie Peralta is a very, very good pitcher, but to me, same thing I saw yesterday. We know we're going to get fastball changeup from him. This should be a spot in which the Mets are able to hit. And then even using our dashboard, which we'll talk more about the dashboard later on in the video, and plugging it, but essentially GuyBostonSports.com, members area if you want to check it out and you can't wait for me to explain it. But this is what I was looking at, right? That sinker right here, Milwaukee doesn't hit the sinker all that well. In fact, they're the worst in the league over the last 30 days. They hit a lot of ground balls as is, right? And then boom. The sinker, they should fall right into that trap. So still like the Mets. It's just a matter of, do we really want to, roll with this with the doubleheader? You're going to hear me say that a lot, guys. There's a bunch of doubleheaders on the board, but that's really what's holding me back, because yesterday we already were ready to roll with the Mets as a final play, right? It was there. So we'll see. In terms of the total, I don't mind the under. Again, I think Freddie Peralta could pitch fairly well. I'm hoping that this Mets team can kind of step up offensively, 1-2-1 their last 3 games in terms of runs scored. So hopefully they can kind of step up, but I don't necessarily know if they're going to step up that crazy, right? So I don't mind the under if Freddie Peralta does go out there, pitch fairly well. All right, Phillies taking on San Diego, game number 2 here. Now, this one is going to be Dylan Cease and I believe it's Dylan Cease and Christopher Sanchez. So, yeah, this is another one in which I think the Phillies might be the spot that I'm looking at. Dylan Cease, not very good against lefties compared to Nick Pivetta, and flip it over to the other side of things, we have Chris Sanchez, who's really good against, I guess everybody so far this year, but the sinker he's going to throw, then he goes to the changeup, the slider, all pitches I'm seeing the San Diego team potentially struggle with. And, oh yeah, by the way, he is a lefty. So, yeah, I'm also going to take a peek here at the Phillies in game number 2. Is it kind of crazy? Yeah, we're back in the same team in both of these games. I always tell you guys that it's tough to beat a team twice and all that, but to me, this could be a decent spot for it, as crazy as it is. Hoping that everybody in the lineup stays consistent and plays. We shall see. But everything I just said about the Phillies in game number 1, I like it. Phillies and their team total over. In fact, maybe we get a little bit crazy. Let me know in the comments if we should do this. Say yes, Phillies parlay to let me know. Phillies money line in both of those things, parlay them together, and we have a nice little or crappy little parlay of Phillies. All they have to do is win both games. We'll see. That's really hard to do, but kind of like the odds there today. So let me know in the comments if we should do that parlay. Honestly, if we can even do it. Some books are a little weird about the same team parlayed like that because it just doesn't compute, I guess. All right, Miami taking on Minnesota, and we called this one pretty well yesterday. I liked the low-scoring game. We had the first 3 under. We had the first 5 under. The game finished 2-0. Now, is it going to be the same today? Simeon Wood-Richardson going up against Jansen Junk. Jansen Junk, I don't have all that much trust in, right? And I think that is pretty fair. Simeon Wood-Richardson, though, are we able to trust him? I don't want to just jump, the gun and say that he's trustworthy. He's either going to give you a really good game or a game in which he might struggle, which is a little worrisome if you're backing Minnesota today. What I will throw at you is the fact that this Minnesota squad, their bullpen should be good, right? And they do, I would say, have the better offense. So I think this is a good spot to back Minnesota. But again, it's a little, I don't want to say worrisome thinking about having to back Simeon Wood-Richardson, but ultimately, had they won yesterday, I don't know if I'd be all over it today, that type of a thing. So for me in this spot, the fact that they lost yesterday is ultimately what puts it over the edge to me, which some people might not agree with that take, but I agree with it, and that's the most important thing, right? So give me Minnesota here in this spot. Again, it's a backing of the offense and maybe a fading of Jansen Junk more so than it is really loving the idea of Simeon Wood-Richardson. But the bullpen, this is a really, really good bullpen for Minnesota at times, and I'm hoping that can be the case here today. They should have everyone good to go, like I mentioned, the bullpen being healthy. So if Duran, Jax, Varland, this bullpen can be very good. Some of their season numbers might not look it, but as long as they're healthy, I really do trust them, especially compared to a Miami bullpen that can struggle at times. So yeah, Minnesota money line at -110 right now, I do believe is a decent look for us here today. And I think for the purposes of a total, it's definitely more of a money line play for me if we touch this game, but I don't necessarily love the idea of Woods-Richardson or Jansen Junk, so I guess I lean towards the over, but again, I'm pretty bullish on that bullpen. So yeah, maybe a first 5 over, something like that. Because then if Minnesota gets off to the races, great. All right, here we go. Game number 2 of this series. Now, I had mentioned that things might change because in game number 1, series of the doubleheader, I mentioned that we like the idea of, obviously, Detroit in game 1. Now we have Mackenzie Gore, who's been shut out at home this year. He's really good at home. 0.87 whip, a 2.46 FIP, average against of 185, a strikeout rate of almost 35%. Huh? This guy's obviously been very, very good. Jack Flaherty is his opposition. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, this Washington team will crush Jack Flaherty, but much like I told you yesterday, Jack Flaherty was the listed pitcher when we were looking at the over, right? So I don't necessarily want to sit here and think he's going to pitch all that well. The biggest thing for me is that this Detroit team hits lefties very, very well, making it not just an automatic lean towards Washington, right? You could see here, this Detroit team, 3rd in the league, 2nd in the league, 2-1-1 in terms of average, WRC+, OPS, ISO, slugging, some really, really good metrics against lefties. And after this game, I'll explain how to get access to this dashboard, guys. And also throw in the fact that, yeah, you're going to see a ton of fastballs from Gore, right? Well, look at this. Fastball, number 10 in terms of the league. And over here, Jack Flaherty, fastball. Washington doesn't hit it all that well, so as much as it is kind of crazy to maybe fade Mackenzie Gore, I think that's going to be what we end up looking at, Detroit in both of these spots. Now, it's not like the Phillies where I'm actually probably going to end up taking the Phillies in game 1 and in game 2, maybe even get crazy and have some fun with a parlay. It's not like I'm all that confident there because Mackenzie Gore is the starting pitcher advantage in this spot, no questions asked. But is that going to be enough to get people to Washington? I'm not all that sure, and it isn't enough for me. So yeah, Detroit here in terms of a total, This one, I think, could go over as well, just because I believe Detroit can at least get a few off Mackenzie Gore. And then when that bullpen, who knows what's going to happen, right? But let's talk some dashboard here, guys. Over on GuyBostonSports.com, you can see it right here. Guy Boston Sports. You just add a .com and you'll get there. Members area, MLB dashboard. Now I'm logged in, so you'll get the dashboard here. But you get this each and every day. You can open it up, print it out, download it, whatever you want to do. Each and every game broken out in a visual format, from pitcher data to bullpen data to batting data to player batting data. We even imported some weather here, some team trends at the top. We got the lines and everything like that. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, GuyBostonSports.com on the members area. If you're not logged in, I'll show you that real quick. Not logged in, it's going to say, hey, you need a membership. You can see view membership levels, and we have two memberships live right now, All Sports Dashboard and the MLB Dashboard. MLB Dashboard, that's the only one that we have available right now in terms of getting the dashboard. The only reason we leave this up is because whatever price you get in at, as long as you keep your subscription active, there's nothing we can do about it if it cancels and anything like that, right? As long as you keep it active, you stay at the same price, meaning if we launch more dashboards, like when an NFL comes, or if we launch a WNBA one, you still get this price. That's why we leave it active for you guys. But again, GuyBostonSports.com, members area, consider becoming a member. All right, Toronto taking on the Yankees. Must I remind us that the Yankees are on the DNB graveyard? So even if we do lean Yankees here in this spot, we will not be taking them. That's how that works. We just got to cool off, right? Cooler heads prevail. We do not need to keep forcing Yankees. And I don't even know if we necessarily would today. Jose Barrios has been very good. Now he's gone up against Boston, Chicago, St. Louis, Philadelphia a couple times. Philly did get to him one time, but for the most part, these lineups haven't been all that tremendous that he's gone up against. Will Warren, on the other side of things, has also been fairly decent. So I kind of wanted to get behind a first five under here potentially, but there is just too much pop in both of these bats and lineups that kind of turned me off from that. And we don't know if the roof is going to be open or closed yet. I feel like that was something that kind of killed us yesterday, too. I liked the Yankees with the closed roof. I even leaned towards the under in the video, but then the roof's open, and that's like an auto go on the over. And it's like, if you watched that game yesterday, we caught the most of it because we were sweating the Yankees for a little bit. But it was just beautiful Canada Day. The vibes must have been high there in the Rogers Center. So unfortunately, this is probably one that we end up passing on, and it kind of bit us in the ass yesterday. But if that roof's open, I like the over. If the roof's closed, I like the under. I'll leave it at that. And if I had to pick a side, DNB graveyard or not, I still think Jose Barrios may have a little bit of an edge here because this Toronto lineup has been hitting. They should give him some run support off of Warren. All right, second leg of the doubleheader here between the Mets and Milwaukee. Jacob Misorowski, or whatever his name is, I call him Miso Soup because that's actually a pretty cool nickname, right? I guess, maybe not. Going up against Blade Tidwell, who his last start, just a few innings pitched, 2 earned against Philadelphia. They got to him, and then a start before that, the Mets got to him. St. Louis got to him as well. So I think we do have a strong pitching advantage on the Miso side of things. Where I probably end up getting here is maybe a Brewers, either Brewers money line or Brewers first 5 money line. But the problem is, we like the Mets game 1. Is it weird that we're like really investing into these double headers today? Usually you guys will watch me on these videos and I'm like, double header, all right, pass. You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, I'm liking some of the matchups. Maybe I'm excited by a near 20 game MLB slate, right? But give me the Brewers backing me, Sorosowski. I could also, honestly, if we really wanted to force something, right, and get behind him, I could take a peek at some of the righties in this Mets lineup because he's really good against righties. So if you wanted to look at Alonso or Marte, Luis Torrens, maybe there's some player prop opportunities there to kind of take a peek at. But I think this one's going to be a little, I guess, lowish scoring as well. So I'm going to lean towards the Brewers and the under if we had to kind of simply state what we like. All right, Red Sox, Cincinnati. Now, FYI, the one that we're looking at here is the regular scheduled game. The game at the very end of the slate there on the graphic is the pickup from yesterday. So this one is a brand new game that we're looking at. But we do need to keep in mind that they have to finish the game. I think it starts at like 2:10. They have to finish that game from yesterday. They only got through a few innings. All right, but Brian Bayo against Nick Martinez. The sinker and slider what we're looking at for Brian Bayo, and the fastball cutter change kind of for Nick Martinez. This Red Sox team is struggling big time against the right hand, which makes me lean towards the Cincinnati side of things. My concern with this is that we don't know what's happening in game number 1. Like, they're going to start at 2:10, 2:30. So this one starts at 7:10. this is probably a Cincinnati and under type of a spot for me, but the first game's going to totally impact what happens in this one. Bullpen, we don't have that information. Everything like that. So we shall see. This one is more like a normal doubleheader that we talk about where it's like, yeah, not all that sure. We'll pass. Braves taking on the Angels. Didier Fuentes on the mound going up against Yusei Kikuchi. Obviously, that is right away, just by those names, you probably are sitting there being like, okay, obvious, advantage to the Angels in terms of their, pitching advantage. But what I will say is that Kikuchi, his home versus road splits have been pretty alarming so far this year. The one good thing for him is that he's going to throw a ton of sliders, right? And look at this. The Braves stink at the sliders. So this is not enough to get me on the Atlanta side of things, but I do want to note that when fading Kikuchi, you're going to want to take a peek at him on the road, right? And also against righties. So this could be a spot in which we like Atlanta at the cheap price. My problem is it's Didier Fuentes on the mound on the other side of things. So maybe we just take a peek at, one thing I could get behind would be a Braves team total over. Like they didn't really score yesterday, and by didn't really score, they scored 0 runs yesterday. So maybe this is a nice spot to be able to pick off them to go out there and get some runs, right? Like again, I don't really want to back Fuentes as a starter, but from a team total perspective, if you like the Braves, you can get right now over 4.5 for -120. I was kind of hoping that's more like -105. They've only done it in 3 of their last 10. Yeah, it's a tough one, right? In terms of them against lefties here this season, it drops down. So, yeah, this is pretty tough. That's a lot of runs for a Brave team that's been inconsistent. But that is how I'd play it if you like the Braves. I'd probably take a peek at them scoring runs versus a guy that throws a bunch of fastballs. Angels hit well on the road. Angels hit the fastball well. Pitcher, not all that great for Atlanta. So, probably how I'd play that one. Next up, we have Texas taking on Baltimore. Sagano on the mound for Baltimore and Eovaldi on the mound for Texas. So I think we do obviously like that side of things, right? Taking a peek at Eovaldi. I don't necessarily love the price for Texas, especially after spanking him yesterday. So I think I'm going to just back the pitchers here. Eovaldi, I think, should be good. He's got good numbers against this Baltimore team, and obviously it's Nate Eovaldi, right? On the flip side, Sagano, they've never seen him on this Texas team. No one on the team has seen him. I think that he could be fairly good. He's decent against lefties. There are a couple, lefties in that lineup that matter. More righties, I will give you that. But ultimately, I like the first 500, maybe even the first 300. Maybe we split our money up and look at both of those. Because right now, the first 3 under 2.5, I believe you can get plus money for over on DK. So under 2.5 in the first 3, plus 100. So even money. So that's probably going to be what we look at. I do lean towards Eovaldi. Maybe Rangers' first 5 run line, if anything. Give me like a 2-1 first 5, 1-1 after 3. Let's hit everything that we look at in this one. You know that I say that, all of a sudden we're going to be looking tomorrow being like, well, it was a record-breaking game. After 3 innings, it was 100-77 for the first time in MLB history. Just because we do like a lot of things in this one. But I do think those unders are going to be things that we consider for final plays. Not going too crazy on them, but like kind of splitting maybe a half unit and sprinkling on both the first 5 and the first 3. First 3's been pretty good to us lately. Hey guys, if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 22. Lets me know that you made it this far, and I really do appreciate it. I mean, we have a long slate here, right to the left of us, to the right of you, and honestly, I mean, we're trying to go through these with as concise as possible. That ain't my forte, as you guys know. We get a lot of guppies being like, you talk too much, do it in 10 minutes. I don't even understand how I could do 19 games in 10 minutes, but we're trying to be concise here, so appreciate everyone that is tuned in and made it this far. We got Shota Imanaga on the mound for the Cubbies going up against Tanner Bybee for the Guards. It's just the Guardians against the lefty again, right? What else needs to be said here? The price at -160 is a little hefty, but I believe you can snag, let me double check this. I believe you can snag the Cubs right now on a couple books out there in the -1. Well, it's now -150 on some of the exchanges, so that I don't necessarily mind. Yesterday, we liked, the Cubs and the Guardians to not score, and that came to fruition, right? We backed their team total under and the Cubs money line, both of those cashed. I could get behind that again today, but I feel like we just rolled with it. Now it's a little weird, but to me, I mean, this is just a better pitcher on the Cubs side of things with Imanaga, right? I know he's just coming back and everything, but still, he looked pretty good in that 5-inning performance as he came back. That was against St. Louis. And what better team to go up against? The Guardians, who can't hit lefties. So I don't mind the idea of them and a team total under for the Guardians yet again. So give me the Cubs on the money line. Are we going to, stub our toe here and be like, oh man, why'd we look at them? Obviously that was too expensive. Even Managa's just coming back, blah, blah, blah. Sure. But if the Cubs go out there and blank this Guardians team because we have the, the Guardians that just can't seem to hit lefties and whatnot, I just don't really want to see that and regret not liking it. So is that the best thing? No, but give me the Cubs and the Guardians team total under. Houston taking on Colorado. Now, Hunter Brown's on the mound, so he should be good to go if you like Houston. First 5 run line, something like that. Now, it is in cores. I do think that is worth noting, but it's still Hunter Brown, right? I actually have a future on Brown to win the AL Cy Young, so very excited for that. Hopefully, this start doesn't kind of throw him off pace, because we also had Max Fried in the AL, and yeah, that didn't look all that great yesterday, right? One thing we could do here is maybe involve Houston in a parlay. Maybe we're looking at like Houston, Tampa Bay, Houston, Dodgers, something like that. That's probably what I do because, or just first 5 run line, but even still, you're going to pay a lot of juice for that. So yeah, Houston and their team total over is what I'd look at. Gomber on the other side of things, not all that impressed with him, never really have been. Seattle taking on Kansas City. We do have a play that we like in this one. It is a little juiced, I'll tell you that much. But it's going to be Logan Gilbert and Noah Cameron. I like the first 3 under. I do like the first 5 under, but you have to take that at 3.5 right now. We're paying the juice for the first 3 under at 2.5. That's 5 innings for 3.5 that you'd be looking at, right? For right around the minus 110-ish. You take a peek at the first 3. Yes, it's minus 160. I admit that that's pretty damn juicy, but I mean, you're only 1 more run, but you're cutting off 2 innings of potential, tragedy type of thing and chaos. So that's going to be what we look at here. I like a low scoring game, as do the books though. In terms of a side, I don't mind the idea of Kansas City at this price. It was similar to what I talked about yesterday, right? We had Lorenzen on the mound and the price just made sense. It wasn't that I wanted to back Lorenzen over Hancock, but Kansas City, didn't even fully like smack around Hancock, but they ended up winning the game. Today, Cameron, I do think can bounce back after kind of a start against the Dodgers, which isn't all that great. And then Logan Gilbert, I believe his last start, he pitched decent, but ended up getting got to, if I'm not mistaken, by Texas later on. So both these guys, obviously very good pitchers. The plus 180 is probably just what I'd look at for Kansas City, but that first 3 under, it might be something that we look at today, but it's heavily juiced. I get it if people don't want to tail that. It's a lot of juice. All right, Zona taking on San Francisco here on the mound for Arizona. Is going to be Merrill Kelly going up against Landon Rupp. Now, Rupp's actually in the last few starts been better than, I would say, Merrill Kelly, who was looking really, really good. He's kind of had a little bit of struggles. That being said, he could be in a really good spot here. Last time he pitched against the San Fran team, 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run on 8 strikeouts, no walks. And again, he pitched into the 7 he pitched 7 full innings. So I do think that Arizona could be another spot today, ultimately. The thing here is that what if Kelly is starting to implode or anything like that? Not exactly what I'm looking for if we're backing them. I do think the Diamondbacks could score some runs today, though. I'll throw that out there. They scored 8 yesterday, 4 in game number 1. Even if San Francisco gets to Kelly, I have a feeling that Rupp allows a few here. In terms of what we're getting from a price on that one, let me pull that up just so we can speak. Instead of speaking out of our ass, we can speak to facts. But here, Arizona team total right now, 4.5 for plus 105, 3.5 for minus 160. Do we bite the bullet and pay the juice again? We might. I would price that 3.5 at like minus 180. And the fact that we could see, yeah, it is minus 180 on other books. That might be something we jump on. I would go with the 4.5 though if you don't like the 160, because I get that those are tough odds for a lot of people. I just view the value, that 20 cents discrepancy, a little bit more than I do the risk versus reward of 160. Not always the most math or plus EV type mindset. But yeah, I like Arizona to score some runs today. Reason being, we're going to get a lot of sinkers. Okay, not exactly the best pitch out of Landon Rupp, but the curveball here. Number 4th, Arizona is in terms of hitting that curveball, and almost everyone in their lineup, I think Perdomo and it's like Thomas or someone doesn't hit the curveball well. Everyone else does. Naylor, Marte, Pavon Smith. So yeah, we could see some runs there. In terms of what we have from a park factor and a weather index here, I believe we have, Chase Field, I believe we have plus 7%. That was dumb to say the weather, because why would the weather matter in this ballpark? But yeah, give me Arizona team total over. That's kind of me backing them money line and the total going over, but I don't think you could beat that 3.5. Go score 4 runs for us, guys. All right, Kershaw versus Sean Burke. I'm not going to go out there and throw a under in the first 3 or first 5 at you again. That was just because we wanted some action, and it was pretty dumb. Dodgers probably the spot here. I do think that Sean Burke is finding his footing. I mean, yeah, he's still going to have some of those spot starts where he doesn't look all that great, but ultimately, he's looked a little bit better. But Clayton Kershaw has actually looked very good. Is he pitching deep into games? Kind of, he's starting to. So, yeah, I like Kershaw to pitch well. The odds are the odds here, though. Minus 310, nothing that we're really going to get behind. In terms of a total, though, like, is it crazy for me to not mind the under? Yesterday, we saw a 6-1 game, right? Yamamoto pitched 7 innings. Smith didn't look all that great, but still, the Dodgers didn't fully go out there and just keep going guns a-blazing. Right now, it could be the same today. If they get an early lead, do they really need to exhaust all resources to make sure they beat this White Sox team? No, they're better than them at all 3 phases. So I like the idea of an under as well. I don't know if we definitely get behind that, but yeah, that's what we're going to be looking at. Now, in terms of this last game, Boston and Cincinnati, no need to go through it. We're not going to be touching it. We talked about it yesterday. I did want to include it on the slate just so you guys were aware and visually you could see that Boston game in the middle of the slate is technically, I would almost say a doubleheader here. Yes, they started the game yesterday, but they're playing a game, earlier, so it definitely impacts it. I'm not going to roll with anything in that second game, or first game, but second on our list, just because the game's already going. I don't think we ended up having anything in that game, but there might even be some, if your plays are pending, they might still be active. Check your book. Different books operate differently, but that's going to wrap it up for me today. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.